You know that feeling when you're scrolling through social media and see your friend posting pictures of their brand new car? Like, it's gleaming in the driveway, they're all smiles, and part of you is genuinely happy for them. There's this tiny voice in the back of your head going, how the hell did they afford that? Picture this scenario. You're sitting at the dealership, the salesperson slides that monthly payment amount across the table, and it's not terrible. $450 a month. You can swing that. Your brain does this quick math. Okay, that's like $15 a day. I spend more than that on lunch sometimes. So you sign. You drive off feeling like you just leveled up in life. But here's what drives me crazy about this whole thing. That $450, it's not even close to the real number. Not even in the same ballpark. And, I mean, nobody talks about this stuff until it's too late. My name is Andy, and I spend way too much time thinking about money. Probably an unhealthy amount, honestly. But what I've learned after digging into the real cost of car ownership is this. Most people are accidentally spending the equivalent of a small house down payment every few years, and they have no idea it's happening. Now, let's start with that monthly payment, because that's where the illusion begins. The average car payment in America right now is around $550 a month for new cars, $400 for used. But here's the thing, that's just the trailer for the movie. The payment is literally the smallest part of the total cost, which sounds insane when you first hear it, but stick with me here. Think about it this way. When you buy a $30,000 car with a typical loan, let's say 6% interest over 5 years, your monthly payment is about $580. Most people stop the math right there. 5 years, $580 a month, cool, I can handle that. But that $580 times 60 months, that's $34,800. So you just paid $4,800 in interest alone. Not terrible, but we're just getting started. Now here's where it gets interesting. The moment you drive that car off the lot, it loses about 20% of its value. Instantly. On a $30,000 car, that's $6,000 gone. In the time it takes you to drive home and park in your driveway. I mean, you literally just paid $6,000 for a 10-minute test drive. It's not even the expensive part yet. See, most people think about car costs like this. Payment, gas, maybe insurance. Done. But there's this whole invisible ecosystem of expenses that nobody warns you about. And when you add them all up, it's genuinely shocking. Let me walk you through what car ownership actually costs. And I'm going to use real numbers here because the math is pretty eye-opening. Insurance. The average American pays about $1,700 a year for car insurance. That's $142 a month that somehow never makes it into the "can I afford this car" calculation. Already, we're at $580 plus $142, so $722 a month, not $580. Maintenance and repairs. AAA says the average car costs about $1,200 a year to maintain and repair. That's another $100 a month. The average American drives about 12,000 miles a year. If your car gets 25 mpg and gas is $3.50 a gallon, that's $1,680 a year in gas. Another $140 a month. We're at $962 now. Registration and fees. Varies by state, but let's call it $200 a year, or about $17 a month. We're at $979 now. And here's one people never think about. Parking. If you live in the city or work downtown, you're probably spending anywhere from $50 to $300 a month just to park the thing. Let's use $100 as a conservative estimate. We're now at $1,079 a month. So that $580 car payment, it actually costs you $1,079 a month to own that car. Nearly double. And we haven't even talked about the opportunity cost yet, which is honestly the most expensive part of all. But before I get to that, quick pause. If this breakdown is helping you see car costs differently, hit that subscribe button and give this a like. It really helps me keep making these deep dives into personal finance topics that actually matter. So, opportunity cost. This is where your brain might start hurting a little bit, but bear with me because this is the most important part. Every dollar you spend on that car is a dollar you can't invest. And over time, that adds up to some truly staggering numbers. Let's say you're 25 years old, and you're deciding between two scenarios. Scenario A, You buy that $30,000 car with all the associated costs we just calculated. Scenario B. You buy a reliable used car for $8,000 and invest the difference. Now here is where this really messes with your life, and it is not just in the spreadsheet. Big fixed payments shrink your courage. When you know that $700 or $900 has to leave your account every month or you are in trouble, your brain operates in survival mode. You are less likely to leave a toxic job, less likely to go part-time to go back to school, less likely to start that side business that might take a year or two to really pay off. On paper, it is just a car payment. In your nervous system, it is a little monthly threat. Miss me and something bad happens. Your brain knows that and it makes you more conservative with everything else. I cannot tell you how many people say the sentence, "I would save if I could, I just never have anything left at the end of the month." And then, you look at their budget and bam, there is a $650 car payment and an extra $120 on top of that for full coverage insurance on a $50,000 vehicle they did not really need. The car has become invisible to them. It is not a choice. It is just life. Meanwhile, that one decision is doing more damage to their financial future than all their small, bad habits combined. If you fix the car situation for a lot of people, you unlock hundreds of dollars of monthly cash flow. That is difference-making money when it comes to building an emergency fund or actually investing. Let us talk depreciation because this is the quiet villain nobody explains clearly when you sign. A car is not a house. It is not land. It is a machine that wears out and loses value. Brand new cars commonly lose a big chunk of their value in the first few years. It is not unusual for a car to drop around 20% in the first year and 40% in the first 3 or so, depending on the model. So if you buy a car for $50,000, it would not be crazy for that car to be worth closer to $30,000 after several years. Meanwhile, you might still owe well above that because in the early years of an auto loan, most of your payment is going to interest, not principal. That is how people end up upside down, owing more on the loan than the car is worth. If something happens, you get in an accident, you need to sell quickly. You do not get to walk away clean. And cars usually do not happen in isolation. Here is the pattern the industry loves. You buy a new car, payments are high, but you manage. A few years go by, the car still runs fine, but you're bored. The dealership starts sending you messages. We can get you into a newer model for the same payment or less. So you go in, because you are still upside down on your current loan, they roll that balance into the new loan. Translation? They stretch the term, again, maybe to 72 or 84 months. Your payment stays similar, and now you're in a new 6 or 7 year contract. You never get to the part where you own the car outright and drive it for years with no payment. You are basically renting nice cars from the bank for your entire adult life. Let us zoom way out and put a lifetime price tag on that habit, say from age 22 to age 62. 40 working years, you always have a car payment. Sometimes it is $450, sometimes it is $700, sometimes it is only $550. Let us be conservative and call it an average of $600 a month over those 40 years. That is $7,200 a year. Over 40 years, that is $288,000 in car payments alone, not counting interest variations, insurance differences, and maintenance. If that made you genuinely wealthy in some other way, fine. But what it really did was keep your monthly obligation so high that you never got to invest serious money consistently. Now compare that to a different script. Person A does the normal thing. New car, big payment, trade-in, repeat. Person B makes a slightly boring choice in their 20s. They buy a reliable used car. They drive it until it actually needs replacing. They keep their car cost low enough that once they pay off a car, they do not immediately upgrade. Instead, they take that old car payment and redirect it into investments. Person A might look cooler for a while. Person B is quietly building a 6-figure portfolio by the time they hit their 40s. That difference in the background is almost entirely the real cost of a car payment, compounding over time. Here's something that might surprise you. I am not anti-car. I am not even anti-car loan in all situations. There are seasons where financing a car makes sense. Maybe you need something reliable to get to work. You live somewhere with brutal winters, you have kids to transport, and your savings are not there yet. I get it. The issue is not that you ever financed a car. The issue is staying in that high payment world forever and never doing the actual math on what it is costing you. If your car payment is bigger than your retirement contribution, that is a sign. If your car payment is bigger than your rent on a room with roommates, that is a sign. If your heartbeat genuinely speeds up when you see the words auto payment due, that is a sign. So, what do you actually do with all of this? Let me give you a simple framework to calculate your real cost, and then you can decide what to change, if anything. Step 1, figure out your true monthly cost, not the number on the loan. Add up your payment plus the difference in insurance you pay because of this specific car versus what you would pay on a cheaper, older one, plus a realistic monthly average for maintenance and registration. That is the real monthly cost of this decision. When you see that number, do not judge it yet. Just write it down. Step 2, multiply by 12 and then by the number of years on your loan. If your all-in cost is $900 a month, times 12 is $10,800 a year, times 6 years is $64,800. Circle that number. That is the true price of this car in dollars, not counting whatever it will cost you in repairs after the loan is done. Ask yourself, if this car had a $65,000 price tag on the windshield, would I still have signed the documents? Step 3, take that same monthly number and imagine an alternate universe where it is all going to your future instead of the lender. You can look up a compound interest calculator and plug in, say, $600 or $700 a month at 7% for 10, 20, 30 years. The exact number is not as important as the feeling you get when you see how huge that could be. It takes this car from being a thing I drive to work to a decision that might change whether I can retire at 60 or have to work until 75. Step 4, ask how this payment affects your flexibility. Could you handle a surprise expense? Could you handle a layoff? Could you handle taking a lower paying but much better job for your mental health? Or does this car payment basically force you to stay stuck no matter what? If the honest answer is, this payment makes me feel trapped, then we have identified the real cost. It is not just interest, it is your options. If you are listening and thinking, okay, Andy, this sounds nice, but I am already in the loan, let us talk about that. First, you are not doomed. You made a decision with the information and emotions you had at the time. Cool. Now you have better information. The goal is not to beat yourself up. The goal is to get yourself out of the danger zone over the next few years. One option, if you are really stretched, is to run the numbers on selling the car. If the car is worth close to what you owe or a bit less, you might be able to sell it, clear most or all of the loan, and move into a cheaper, older, still reliable car that cuts your payment in half or removes it completely. That will feel like a step backward to your ego. But financially, it can be like taking a backpack of rocks off your shoulders. Another option, if selling is off the table, is to treat this car loan like a temporary emergency project. For example, maybe you commit that for the next 18 to 24 months. You are going to attack your overall budget with a short-term mindset. You find a side hustle, you cut some luxuries, you pay down other high-interest debt so that the car is the only big fixed piece left. The key promise you make to yourself is this: when the car is paid off, you will not immediately upgrade. You will enjoy years of no payment. You will drive the car you own, and you will take that old payment and send it to savings and investments instead. There is a huge identity shift hiding in there. Most people think of themselves as someone who always has a car payment. That is just their story. Adults have payments. That is life. I want you to experiment with a different identity. I am someone who eventually owns my car and then uses that freed-up money to buy my freedom. When you adopt that identity, the choices feel less like sacrifice and more like alignment. You are not the weirdo driving an older car. You are the person playing a long game that most people never see. Let me give you two quick characters to keep in your head. Both are 28 years old. Both make the same income. Both like cars. Alex buys a brand new crossover for $48,000, finances it over 72 months, and ends up all in at about $900 a month between payment and insurance. Jamie buys a solid used car for $15,000, does a small loan, and keeps their all-in cost at $350 a month. Alex invests $150 a month because that is what is left. Jamie invests $700 a month because the difference in car cost is going straight to their future. Fast forward 10 years. Alex has traded in once and is still paying. Jamie has probably upgraded once but with cash or a small loan. And more importantly, that $700 a month invested for 10 years might be in the ballpark of 6 figures. Same roads, same jobs, totally different wealth. Largely because of how they handled the real cost of car payments. Look, you are not a bad person for liking nice things. You are not weak for wanting a car that makes you feel good. You are human. The whole system is designed to link your identity and your self-worth to what is parked in your driveway. The trick is to separate "I am worth something" from "my car is worth something." Once you do that, car decisions become math and values, not panic and vibes. You can say, yeah, I want a decent car, but I also want an emergency fund. I want investments. I want the option to take a month off one day without freaking out. Then the car slides into its proper role, a tool, not a master. If all you do after watching this is sit down, grab a piece of paper, and write 3 numbers, your all-in monthly car cost, the total cost over the life of your loan, and the alternate reality where that money was invested instead, you will see what most people never bother to see. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Suddenly, that "I deserve this" feeling has to stand next to "future me deserves something too." And that is when people start making different choices. Smaller cars, slightly older models, paid-off vehicles they keep for 8 or 10 years. Those are not signs of failure. Those are the little boring flexes that quietly build wealth. So next time you are in a dealership and someone smiles and asks, "What kind of monthly payment are you looking for?" I want you to hear a different question in your head. How much of my future am I willing to trade for this? If you run the numbers and say, you know what, I am good with that, then at least you are making a conscious choice. But if your gut drops when you see the true cost, give yourself permission to walk away, sleep on it, or choose something cheaper. Your financial life is bigger than one car. If this helped you see your car payment in a different light, or maybe pushed you to finally run the real numbers, that is exactly why we made it. And if you got any value from us today, please hit subscribe to help keep this channel running. It costs you nothing. It really does support what we are doing here, and it might just be the highest return decision you make today that does not involve selling your car.